Hello and welcome. My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the lovely town of Brackley, England. All my projects are made using Stampin' Up products, and if you'd like to purchase any of these supplies I've used, you'll find a full list provided within my YouTube channel. Or you can always send me a private message via my Facebook page. Don't forget to like and follow so you don't miss any future videos. Your support really helps me creating and sharing more projects. Thank you. So today we are on our second card for this week's stamp set, Stay Warm. Oh, I seem to have a frog in my throat today, so I do apologise. So we're going to create a version of this card. Not this one. I'm slightly going to change it. Step it up, should I say. So it will be very similar to this, but stick with me. So the the items we're going to use today are Stay Warm. We're going to use the Happy Birthday sentiment from Simply Said, and I'm bringing in the hexagon from the, I think it's Be Mine. Let's have a quick look. Oh, Meant to Be dies. Okay, so I need this die here. Right, I'm also going to be using 3 ink pens or blend pens, Light Mossy Meadow, Dark Daffodil Delight, and the Light Cajun Craze. So the supplies that we've got, so I've got Cajun Craze, let's pick these up. I've got Cajun Craze, that measures 8 inches by 5 3/4. I have 2 pieces of cardstock, both measuring, well, this one measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. And as you can see, there's already a piece missing out of that. And that is what I used for this hexagon here. But so as I don't waste the paper and throw it away, I'm using it as the backing, excuse me, for the card. I am using Designer Series paper Autumn Toil, and this is 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. I've also brought in a piece of Cajun Craze for my hexagon. I just need the outline, so when this cuts through, it gives you 2 layers. It gives you this section here, the frame, and it gives you the middle. I don't need the middle for this bit, but I will keep it for later. I've done exactly the same, excuse me, for my white, but this time I don't need the outline, I need the inside. So that's that. And then I have got a piece of white, basic white, which measures 1 inch by, I think this is 3 inches. Yep, 3 inches. And this is 1 1/8 and 3 1/8. All the measurements will be on my blog. Right, so the first thing we need to do is, I think I might need to take a sip of my tea. Just bear with me for 2 seconds. And hopefully that will help me. So we're going to do the stamping. So the first thing I need to stamp is my item of clothing that I'm going to put on here and the sentiment. I'm going to stamp, oh dear, excuse me. I am going to stamp both of these in the Early Espresso. So let's do the sentiment first. Let's bring that down. I'm going to go aiming for the middle. There we go. Okay, then I am going to dive into here. I'm going to pull out my hat, my jumper, and my pair of gloves. That's what I'm going to use from this today. So let's, actually we'll just do one of those, put that up there. I need a block for my hat, and then I need a D block for my jumper. Perfect. So I'm going to stamp the jumper onto here, and I want it point up. I'm going to ink up the jumper, and I'm just going to aim for it to be round about here, straight down. There we go, there's my jumper. And then I'm going to ink my glove. I'm going to put one. Let's do it this way around. It might be easier. Oh, nearly dropped that. Oh no. There we are. That's one. Two. And then let's get the bobble. And I'm going to pop that just about there. Okay, so there's all the inking that we need to do. We can pop this away. Let's move these out of the way so we don't get ink everywhere. Never a good look. And then we can start colouring in. So as I said, the colours I'm going to use are light Cajun Craze. So I'm going to pop that on there. I'm going to use Mossy Meadow. And the Daffodil Delight for the bobble. And then when you have coloured in all of your stamping, it will look something like, there's my jumper, and there is my sentiment. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my sentiment to its strip. Straight down. Perfect. Now, whereas in this card, the paper is quite, it almost tells the story itself. It's harvest, the pumpkins are growing, and you just make sure you put on your warm hat and gloves. The paper I have chosen for this particular card is just stripes. So I've wanted to add a bit more to the focal image. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece of glue all the way around the edge so as not to cover this bit here. Oh, we had this problem on Monday, didn't we? Come on. There we go. So just down the edge, not too much. And then that can be layered onto the top of here. Whereas the paper on the previous card took the backing, so it would have been 3 3/4 by 5.5. Okay, now I'm bringing in my base, which I'm going to fold that at the 4-inch mark. For those of you that prefer, obviously, score on the 8-inch side. Let's grab my bone folder. There we go. So this will now sit onto here. And of course, it doesn't matter if I get the glue on there. Oop. There we go. That will then go on to here, like so. There we go. So that's that down. And then all we need to do is position our artwork. So I am going to have my hexagon there and my sentiment there. So I'm going to use my dimensionals to raise up the sentiment, and I'm putting the sentiment in position already, just because I want to make sure there's enough room for everything on the card. So a nice little border all the way around. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a dab of glue on the corners here, and that will help keep the in place rather than put it all around the edges. Sometimes I find if I do that, it just oozes, and I don't want too much ooze. Okay, there we go. So let's make sure that that is that way. Make sure it's straight. I'm running it along the line there, so hopefully that will keep it in place. Now, right, you've got two options. You could pop it down flat here, like so, or you could raise it. I'm going to raise it, and I'm just going to put the dimensionals actually on the designer series paper rather than on the artwork. Put one in the middle. You don't need to use as many as I have. Obviously felt the need to put them all on today. So let's do that. Let's remove these backings. Perfect. Pop you off my fingers. There we go. Now we can add our image over the top. So make sure it lines up with your hexagon underneath, and there you have today's card. So you've got just the plain using the designer series paper and the sentiment on the focal image, or you've got the 3 layers here. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. I will be back on Friday for a funky fold, so do join me then, and whatever you do, happy crafting. Bye.